What's up, everybody? It's Vince from Dragonwick. I'm going to turn the headphone volume down a little bit. So, part of Dragonwick is learning by watching. And that means that I have a lot of channels that I like to watch. One of them is a guy who is, he looks like a hillbilly. He records from his shack, sometimes outside. If you know who he is, then you know what I'm talking about. And he does a lot of just, talking about his life. And I find it interesting, so I watch it. Well, recently, for some reason, he came under attack by what I would call glamsteaders. There's a huge difference between a prepper, a homesteader, and a glamsteader. And a lot of it is a division of privilege. And this clip that I'm going to show a portion of really sort of illustrates the difference between two of them. And the reason I'm responding to this video is I don't think he really needs me to come to his rescue. That's not what I'm doing here at all. What I'm actually doing is I felt personally attacked. And if I felt personally attacked, I felt like other people probably felt personally attacked. So I decided to do what a lot of people who are not influencers, even though I just started, I don't really have a following to speak of yet, but I felt like I should say something about this because, first of all, people that are homesteading should not be attacking each other. Second of all, it's not my call to say who's a fraud and who isn't, and I don't think it's anybody else's call to make that same decision. And third of all, this just rubbed me the wrong freaking way. And so I wanted to just comment on this video because it got my blood boiling because it was just so uninformed. Let's have a look. All right, here we go. We're going to start here because this is where this is what really set me off. And we're going to have a listen. I'm going to pause intermittently on this video. First of all, I want to note, look at the title. That's going to play a huge role because one of the big things that they're accusing this guy of right here is, well, you use sensationalism and you use clickbait to get people to watch your stuff where you're scaring the crap out of them. And, it's just not right. And people have a right to be known, right to know they're being scammed. First of all, a realist why would you do homesteading and canning and drying and all of these things? Why would you get off grid or get as far off grid as you could unless you thought there might be a possibility that you might need to fall back on this at some point? So he's not wrong, and most people of this mindset or this mentality are going to have a similar thought process. I might need to do this for real at some point and actually have it be my sole purpose in life. Roll tape.
Then he's building a log cabin, not because their fake log cabin that they already have on their property
they don't live in
is
that.
livable.
They
you know
don't
what
live
I mean?
in that. They do not live
Clearly.
in that. It's not livable. There's no kitchen. There's no counters. There's no cabinets. There's no oven. That's the only thing they have in there. They have nothing else except a wood stove. And I saw...
All right, stop. Can you build a fire outside? Can you build a bonfire? No, there you got your cooking pit. It all depends on how much wood you put in it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bonfire, but there it is. That is the entire basis of my channel, is cooking outside and showing that you can cook outside. Now, am I slaughtering my own chickens? No, I'm actually buying from a local farm because I can right now, but I have a neighbor that slaughters his own chickens and sheep, and he used to do cows as well. But I mean, I know that there's somebody nearby that I could learn it from, and I probably will make myself go through it at some point so that I know what the skill set is, so that I know I can use it. Again, learning curve. People want to know what the steps are. I love how people put out these polished videos, and you're supposed to think that everything just goes like that for them all the time. My favorite channels are the ones where they have constant problems, because now I can know what my expectation is moving forward is, Well, when I do this, what kind of trouble am I going to run into? And so that is going to make it on my videos. If something doesn't grow because I was an idiot and I planted it wrong, I'm going to show you. And somebody like this is going to come along and say, look, he doesn't even know how to grow stuff. And of course I don't. It's a learning curve. And I'm showing other people because the best stuff makes it on Discovery and Travel Channel and all these channels. The best stuff, you know, they build a house in like 45 minutes. They plant a garden and it grows in 30 minutes. And that's not reality. That's cut up, you know, that's days and weeks cut up over a 30 to 45 minute period where they put in commercial breaks. So you're not even getting all this content. So yeah, you know what? I'm not a fan of polished stuff, and I'm not a fan of people who think that that's how it goes and that you just have funds. It's just not realistic. So nobody does this. Okay, let's visit that for a minute. Nobody does this. I know of people that do this personally. All right, I know of people that live pretty far off the grid. There's a channel, it's arguably one of the most popular channels on YouTube, called The Townsends. And they do outdoor cooking, and they build a log cabin, which, oh, surprise, surprise, doesn't have any insulation other than the mud / horse poop mortar. I'm not positive that's what they use, but you get the gist, that they put in that hardens and seals kind of like right here. See this? Only on the Townsend's log cabin, it's brown because it's made out of mud and clay. Maybe not horse poop. I think that's for the oven, which I don't understand that either, but whatever. And they have a huge, like, standing height fireplace so they can cook in it. No oven. No oven. There is no oven, and they cook in that log cabin, whoa, all the time. I don't know what that was. They cook in it all the time, proving that you can live like that. Not only can you live like that, it's practical to do so. In fact, in today's society, it's probably more practical. When you go to the grocery store and you want, like, you know, a pound of steak and it's 26 freaking dollars, starts looking pretty sweet. Go fishing, catch a fish. Nobody lives like that. Oh my word. Go.
Her baking a cake or something the other day, and she was putting it in like a toaster oven. And
I didn't see this video. I don't know how you put a cake in a toaster oven, because even the biggest toaster ovens aren't big enough for the smallest cake. I could assume that she was cooking over a fireplace and she was using what they call a hot box, or I'm not sure what the official term is, but it's made out of aluminum or tin, and you put the item you're baking in it next to the fire, and the fire heats the box radiates, and the thing inside the box cooks. And you kind of have to get good at it, because if you're constantly opening something while it's baking, it's never gonna, finish, or it could collapse and all these things. So yeah, totally possible without a kitchen.
I'm just like, no one lives like this.
Again, yes, they do.
If you are off grid, you need a real functional kitchen. Take it from someone who lives a homesteading life.
Okay, you live a glamsteading life. Let's get this straight. Okay? Kitchens, as they exist at this point in time, weren't even a thing until the 20th century. And even then, at the beginning, they had coal fire cooking ovens and wood fire cooking ovens. There's actually somebody here on YouTube that uses one in her off-grid house. Functional kitchen. Yeah, she has cold running water, but her stove is not connected to gas. She has to collect wood to fire the stove. And when she loses power, she melts snow to make coffee. Nobody lives like this. Roll tape.
You need a real kitchen, you need cabinets, you need counter space, you need all of these equipment so that you can freeze and dehydrate.
Again, we're assuming that electricity is going to be there to freeze anything. Again, if you are doing this for real, it's because you think you may need to fall back on it at some point. It doesn't necessarily make you a prepper. It makes you somebody who wants to be prepared, because we live in very uncertain times. That is a fact. And I'll have a go at anybody that says we don't, because it's just uninformed drivel. But the fact is that if you're doing this, you're watching these videos, you're doing it because you think there might be a possibility you need to fall back on it. Or maybe you're just tired of paying through the nose for crap from a third party that's completely unempathetic towards you or your struggles, e.g. a grocery store, a utility company, and you want to figure out a way to at least have those cards in your deck that somebody can't take away. Ugh.
And preserve all of your things. And if you are preserving all of this stuff, you need places to put them. You need storage areas. You need...
Not everybody is privileged enough to have property where they can have massive amounts of storage, like cabinets. In the freezer, I mean, this person does not know anything about dry storage. Nothing. They have done zero research on dry storage. None. Do you know it is possible to grow potatoes and store them without a root cellar? I'm betting she doesn't, but it's actually true. Look it up on YouTube. There's videos about it. But here we are just making blanket statements about the only way homesteading can be done. Let me edit that. The only acceptable way homesteading can be done. Give me a break. Roll.
Canning jars and lids and all of these equipment.
Okay, this is the only true thing she said. Canning jars. There's no way to can without canning jars. However, you don't need a stove to do it. You can do it over an open fire. You just need a stainless steel, compatible with open flame, pressure cooker. And boom, you've got it. You can do it. That's how you do it. Completely practical. You could do it. Nobody lives like that. Not by choice. But you know what? You're going to be darn happy you know how to do it while Glamstetter is off wondering why her refrigerator failed. You're either doing this because you want to fall back on it, or I mean, why would you do this? If our society was perfect, why would you do this? If groceries were reasonable, if there weren't problems at the gas pump, if bills and property valuations weren't going through the roof, why would you do this? You're doing it because you want a way out, which means you need to consider the absolute nuts and bolts, meat and potatoes of how people did it before all that luxury existed with indoor plumbing and indoor heat and electricity. This may come as a surprise to a lot of people, but at one point, this country used to function by candlelight. Nobody lives like that. Roll.
You're telling me they're doing this all in like a 15 by 15 log cabin with
Absolutely. People did it for centuries.
no insulation? And last year was like the first year apparently they had running water and a shower in there. So you're telling me they lived in that thing for over 10 years with no running water, no shower, really?
Do you know how people used to shower and bathe before? First of all, they didn't shower. Do you know how they bathed before indoor plumbing? You took a bath once, if you were lucky and really wealthy, maybe twice a week, because you had to heat the water, which is no small task. And then if you had a bathtub, you might just have a basin. I mean, this is clueless. This is like what the last 100 years has done to us. This is completely clueless rhetoric. Roll.
It's just...
And they're telling people that their toilet is like a bucket with sawdust and they're crapping in there even during the winter.
All right, she's about to say this, that it's a composting toilet, but it is a composting toilet they're describing. And there's a couple that I watch. They live in an area that they're skiing, so it's winter a lot, like more than it is here in Indiana. In fact, we haven't had real snow to talk about, except once last year around Thanksgiving. Where they live, they had a composting toilet that they bought. They spent a lot of money because they have money. I mean, they obviously have a lot of money. They got a Land Rover. But the composting toilet they purchased was a lemon. The parts didn't work right. It was a whole thing. So they built exactly what he's describing. It was literally a Rubbermaid 55-gallon trash bin with a piece of plywood over the top, and then they bolted a toilet seat to the frame, and they compost. Now, disclaimer, they are going to get working sewage, but this is how they had to do it for now. And then they use the compost for non-food item plants and greenery. So I don't know why this is so out there. And you know what? I live in Indiana. There's people that still have outhouses. I'm not saying they use them all the time, but they could, because they do function. I've heard people tell tales about, well, grandma, she's got an outhouse and that's all she's got. Like, people don't live like this. Like, how much privilege is in this reaction?
Do you guys really believe that?
Well, it's supposed to be a composting toilet, but really,
Yeah.
I just can't see that. And my point is, no one lives like that. If you see something on
She
YouTube
needs to
that
stop
is-
saying this. It's really getting under my
It is.
skin.
Just it is, okay? You can't live in an uninsulated cabin with
Yes, you
not
can.
a real kitchen,
Yes,
no
you
real
can.
running water.
Yes, you can.
Without actual like appliances so that you can cook and do the things you like live like a human
Again,
being.
yes, you can. You're
You
wrong.
can't do that. Okay? He gets winters where he's at. He doesn't live in Florida.
All right, so she goes off on the tangent about his lifestyle outside of being an influencer, and where he goes on vacation and whatnot, and that's not applicable to this because it just isn't. This is what is. Nobody lives like that. That just, it sticks in my craw because there are people in this country right now that do live like this, usually by choice. And to assume that everybody needs to have a functional kitchen, what kind of scenario are you planning for exactly? I mean, they didn't say anything about slaughtering animals, so I'm going to assume that they don't. They might, I don't know. But I'm sure they have chickens and they get their eggs from their chickens. I mean, it's basically the typical basic stuff people do when they call themselves homesteaders, and it's like a limited, narrow view of just these like handful of items, and they call that homesteading. But the fact of the matter is the term homesteading spreads from people raising chickens and trying to grow their own food and whatnot to people that slaughter their own food, have maybe a wood fire cooking stove, and none of these things that she is talking about in her video. Like yeah, everybody just has a fully stocked kitchen and lots of storage so they can store their canning. You don't need all that. You just need to be smart. Where can you store stuff? How long can you store it for? And here's another question. If the SHTF scenario happens to hit, how do you know the government's not going to seize your food? So storing it in your house is stupid. Another thing that's brought up in the video that I didn't show you was where they say if you're a prepper, you should be showing all your stuff. No, you should not. If you're a prepper and you actually believe we are minutes away from the final meltdown of America, the last thing you should do is show people your stash. It's probably about the dumbest thing you could possibly do. But she demands it of these people, saying you should show everything. No, they shouldn't. And if that's what you're doing, you're dumb because you don't do that. You don't show your stuff. Why? Well, let's say that I'm being alarmist and the government isn't going to come, seize people's food assets. You still have neighbors who have done no preparing at all, who are going to be looking for anything to eat, and your house is there and they know you're a prepper. You're going to get broken into by somebody. And that's just the most basic of scenarios. I mean, look what happens every time a sports team wins in the city. And we're not talking about any particular race, okay? Northeastern up in Massachusetts, years ago, their team won. It was mostly white college kids looting and destroying property. The animal instinct of people comes out in a situation of uncontrolled frivolity or complete and total meltdown. More evidence, 2020. COVID-19 hits. What was the first thing to disappear off the shelves? Toilet paper. And not long after that, we had a canned goods shortage. A lot of preppers bank on those canned goods. Bad for you. Bad for you. You know what? Can your own goods. I'm on board with that. Do it. Because you know what the things that went into the canned goods is. Have you read the side of canned goods? Oh my word, it's frightening. Oh yeah, I can't even pronounce some of those words. The FDA approved it though, so it must be good. No conflict of interest from a company or an organization called the Food and Drug Administration. None at all. But the bottom line is this: if she thinks she's doing some kind of service for the community, she's not. She's as clickbaity as the people she's accusing. All right. If you were watching a video like that expecting to find out that he had severed heads in his fridge, you didn't get that. What you got was, oh, this guy might have a secondary lifestyle he's not telling everybody about. And he thinks the world is coming to an end, and he tells everybody that, and it scares them. Not really attacking points. And so what if he dresses up like an Amish? I don't care if he dresses up like a clown. If he can show me something, how to do something I don't know how to do, or show me about a tool I didn't know about before, which, by the way, is the whole basis of the Townsend's channel, then I'm for it. He can dress like a doggone clown. He can dress like Godzilla. I don't care. If he's showing something useful, I'm going to watch. And I already believe some of the clickbaity things that they're saying. You just look around, you know that things ain't right. But hey, bank on that, man. If you're shaming people because they don't have a dehydrator, if you're shaming people because they don't have mountains of storage space, or their root cellar isn't très fabu, then maybe you're the one that's looking for clicks. And it's not necessarily the guy that you're accusing. I mean, one of those channels has been up for 10 years. Where did she come from? I'd never even heard of this person before. And they don't really have the kind of followers you would expect from a channel with that kind of clickbaity, material. I'm just saying. Here's my advice. I wouldn't follow these people because their advice is at least partially, if not 70% uninformed. They have absolutely no knowledge of frontiersman's type survival, where you're basically a nomad and you're going to pick up camp and move on, and you need to know how to set up camp again. Short, long-term camping, like I'm going to stay here for a year and then I'm going to move on again. No idea. And there are people that live like that. Yes, there are people that live like that. No, it's hard to believe. I'm kind of done with the trolls. Especially if they're attacking people that are trying to better themselves and educate themselves. That's just foolishness. And if you don't have something of worth to contribute that week, best just leave the camera off. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like, click, and subscribe. I'm Vince. This is Dragonwick, and I'm out.